The Wayfarer's Hall is alive with warmth and noise. The hum of conversation, the clatter of cutlery, the faint buzz of enchantments glowing in the chandelier crystals overhead. Long tables stretch across the room, crowded with guild candidates whose cloaks and armor catch the golden light. The air is rich with roasted meat, sweet mead, and fresh bread. A well-earned feast before tomorrow's trials. When Guildmaster Garrick strides to the podium, the room settles. His armor catches the glow of the hearth fire, and his scarred face rests in a calm, quiet authority. He clears his throat, and his voice carries easily through the chamber. "Tomorrow marks the first step of your service as wayfarers," he begins. "Each of you has been tested in training, but tomorrow the road will test you. You'll work in teams, as you will in the field. I've taken care to balance skill and temperament, or at least give you all the opportunity to learn both." A ripple of amusement passes through the crowd. Garrick unrolls a large parchment, eyes scanning the names. Table 1. Rin, Dalek, Mira, and Torin. Table 2. Lysa, Fen, Aura, and Garth. Table 3. He continues down the list. Some cheer, others groan at the combinations fate or Garrick has arranged. When he reaches table 5, his tone steadies. Orin of the Eastwood Isles, Kale Stormrune, Hazel of the North Road, Simone of Sunwood Vale. The names ring clearly across the hall. Heads turn as the new team rises. Orin stands with measured calm. Kale straightens, broad-shouldered and silent. Hazel brushes a strand of green hair behind one ear, her golden eyes thoughtful. Simone grins, rainbow curls shimmering as she slings her pack over one shoulder and heads to the table. They sit together, a strange but promising mix of quiet precision, raw strength, ordered magic, and fey-touched wonder. Garrick reads the final groups, then rolls the scroll aside and lifts his cup. Rest well, wayfarers. Tomorrow you'll earn your first mark. Luck favor your steps, and may the echo stay silent. A cheer explodes across the hall, tankards raised high, as laughter and conversation rise again. Garrick gathers his own plate, gives a final nod to the gathered initiates, and disappears into his office, the heavy door closing behind him with a quiet thud. The murmur of 100 conversations fills the guild hall, but at table 5, the mood is quietly settling, an island of unfamiliar faces amid the din. Orin eats in silence, his movements deliberate and graceful, discipline evident in every measured gesture. Across from him, Kale leans back on the bench, his rough voice cutting easily through the background noise.
Can't say I've talked to any of you before.
He admits, a hint of curiosity beneath his usual calm gruffness. Hazel smiles at that, her tail giving an absent swish behind her chair.
Well, then I'll start. I'm Hazel.
She says warmly, resting an elbow on the table.
It's nice to finally meet the people I'll probably be trusting my life to.
So that'd make me Kale, you Hazel, the quiet elf over there must be Orin, and that leaves Simone.
Hazel's ears perk up, her gaze sliding toward the rainbow-haired woman.
That's quite the color. Is it natural?
She teases, her tone playful but genuinely curious. Simone smirks over her cup.
About as natural as your ears and tail.
She quips back, her voice laced with a mischievous bite. Kale's laugh breaks loud and hearty, drawing a few glances from nearby diners before they return to their meals. Orin looks up briefly, his expression unreadable as his eyes move between them. Then he exhales through his nose, shaking his head as though already resigned to this new chaos. Simone notices and tilts her head toward him, her grin widening.
Strong, silent type, huh?
Orin doesn't look up this time. He sighs once more and returns to his meal, the faintest hint of amusement lingering at the corner of his mouth. The conversation drifts from there, laughter easing the awkwardness, warmth growing between strangers. Outside, the night wind hums softly against the windows, carrying with it the promise of trials yet to come. As the evening wanes, the lively chatter of the guild hall mellows into a low murmur of tired voices and the occasional clink of tankards. The long feast gives way to smaller pockets of conversation and the gentle crackle of the hearth. Hazel finishes the last of her meal, dabs her mouth politely with a cloth, and rises from the table. Her tail sways easily behind her as she smiles at the others.
I think that's enough excitement for tonight. I'm going to get a bath before bed. Might as well be clean before the chaos starts tomorrow.
Kale pushes his chair back with a scrape, grinning faintly.
I'll skip it. I'll just smell worse after the trial anyway, so I'll save myself the effort.
Hazel lets out a soft laugh, light and genuine. Simone smirks over her shoulder as she stands.
Then I'll join Hazel. Though,
She adds with a teasing glance toward the lupine sorcerer.
I'm not sure how I'll feel about the smell of wet dog.
Hazel gives a mock gasp, her tail flicking playfully.
You'll live.
Orin lifts his gaze from his plate, calm eyes passing briefly over the group.
Good night.
He says simply, his quiet voice carrying just enough to be heard before he returns to his food. Kale chuckles as he heads towards the stairs.
He does talk.
He calls back over his shoulder, earning a few amused looks from nearby tables as he disappears up the steps. Hazel and Simone share a laugh as they head toward the bath wing, their voices fading behind the closing door. The hall grows quieter still, the last embers in the hearth crackling softly. Orin finishes his meal in peace, candlelight flickering across the calm reflection in his eyes. Outside, the night settles heavy and serene over Highwatch Haven, the eve of trials wrapped in silence and anticipation. The scent of warm bread and spiced porridge fills the morning air as the guild hall stirs to life. Sunlight spills through tall windows, glinting off steel and glass alike. At table 5, the newly formed team settles in, armor adjusted, weapons strapped, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Hazel digs into her breakfast with enthusiasm, her tail flicking happily with each bite. Across from her, Kale chews absently, his gaze split between the main doors and the food in front of him. Orin sits straight-backed as ever, eating with quiet precision, while Simone leans on one elbow, watching the morning crowd filter into the hall. The main doors creak open. A brief hush ripples through the room as a tall figure in black and silver strides between the tables. Viscount Calor, pale-haired, sharp-eyed, and draped in dark finery. His steps are measured and distant, as though the noise of the hall never quite reaches him. Without a word, he moves towards the guildmaster's office, the soft echo of his boots carrying across the stone floor. Orin's eyes follow him until the office door closes behind the man.
Is he important?
He asks, his tone mild but curious. Simone shakes her head slowly, her brow furrowing.
Not sure. Haven't seen him before.
Hazel, meanwhile, remains happily oblivious, cheeks puffed, tail swaying as she devours her breakfast like she hasn't eaten in days. From a nearby table, a whisper drifts their way, low, but just clear enough for Orin, Kale, and Simone to hear. Isn't that Viscount Calor? Kale looks up, brow arching.
Who's Viscount Calor?
Hazel makes a valiant attempt to respond through a mouthful of food, muffled and incomprehensible, save for one half-chewed word.
Dusk.
Kale leans back with a half grin.
Swallow your food before you talk. Even I have manners.
Hazel lets out a light growl of protest, ears twitching as she narrows her eyes at him, which only earns her a snort of laughter from Simone. Orin finishes his meal with a calm sip of tea, then shrugs.
We shouldn't worry about it right now.
He says evenly, glancing once more toward the office door.
If it concerns us, we'll find out soon enough.
The group settles again, the quiet tension of the coming trials returning to the air, though the name Viscount Calor lingers unspoken between them. Behind the heavy oak door of the guildmaster's office, the warmth and laughter of the hall fade into a cool, motionless quiet. The scent of parchment, ink, and steel hangs in the air, heavy with purpose. Guildmaster Garrick stands beside a broad map table, its surface crowded with markers, sigils, and scattered reports. Across from him, Viscount Calor remains perfectly still, hands clasped behind his back. The faint gleam of his filigreed mask catches the morning light filtering through the narrow window. 2 days, Calor says, his voice low and deliberate, each word measured like a blade's edge. A goblin outpost appeared in the northern woods as if conjured overnight. Scouts report palisades, sentries, and smokes from forges. That kind of speed is unnatural. Garrick's brow furrows as he studies the map, tracing the northern border of Highwatch Haven with a gauntleted finger. Goblins don't build that fast, not without help. Precisely. Calor's tone sharpens slightly, pale eyes glinting beneath the mask. I suspect echo influence, the kind that reshapes stone and bone alike. I'll need to verify it myself. Garrick lets out a low breath and straightens. Normally, I'd send veterans with you, ones who know how to read that sort of corruption before it bites them, but most are tied up in the southern marches. Calor tilts his head faintly, unreadable. Then you have no one to spare. Not veterans, Garrick admits, a spark of consideration lighting his gaze. But I do have a new team. Raw, yes, but capable, balanced in skill, if not in experience. Recruits, Calor repeats quietly, neither dismissive nor approving. You intend to test them on this. Garrick's mouth tightens into a grim half-smile. If they can handle a simple scouting and neutralization, they'll have earned their badges. If they can't, better we find out now before something worse than goblins crawls out of those woods. Calor studies him in silence for a long moment, then inclines his head. Very well. Assign them to me and have them meet me at the northern gate. I'll see for myself what your wayfarers are worth. Garrick nods once, rolling the northern map closed and sealing it. They'll be ready. Table 5. Orin, Kale, Hazel, and Simone. At that, Calor turns towards the door, his cloak whispering faintly against the stone. Then let's hope your faith in them isn't misplaced, Guildmaster. The door closes softly behind him, the echo of his steps fading into the morning bustle beyond, leaving Garrick alone, eyes lingering on the sealed map, a faint crease of concern shadowing his face.
Plans, rusty steel and second-hand dreams. Trip on roots, but we keep on running. Rookie hearts burning hotter than it seems. Light it up, we're the ones who keep on rising. Turn a frightened village into songs we sing. Chasing sparks across the dark horizon. Every wild misstep gives our courage wings. From the shadows to the shout of a brand new morn, we're breaking the dawn. This is how legends are born. Ruins rise at the edge of nowhere. Shadows twist where the brave press on. Old cathedrals hide secrets they can't share, but we charge through the dark till the fear is gone. Light it up, we're the ones who keep on rising. Turn a frightened village into songs we sing. Chasing sparks across the dark horizon. Every wild misstep gives our courage wings. From the shadows to the shout